Step 1, take the blue chassis of your car, make sure the M is upside down and closest to you, and you'll be passing one of these yellow motors through this hole here. You'll know when it's in place because it doesn't slide, and that's because there's a small sort of dimple there that fits into the hole in the chassis quite nicely. Then what we're going to do is take the 25mm screws, and we're going to thread them through two of the holes that line up between the chassis and the motor. So I'm going to put both of them through, and then I'm going to join those, connect those with the nuts that are provided. I'm going to do that on both sides of the chassis. So the next thing I want to do is to put the rubber tyres on both of my wheels. So if I snap those on, and then I want to attach each of these to the axle of the motors. You might want to press those on, and then what you're going to need to do is find the small sharp screws, so specifically the M2 9mm screws. Try not to accidentally use, there's a whole bunch of these provided. There's only 4 of these, so make sure that we're using these to attach our wheels to our motors. So I'll do that now. Next, you're going to want to take your line follower sensor. Make sure that the port for the sensor is facing downwards and away from you, with the wheels being at the top end of the underside of the chassis. And we're going to place our sensor just so. Now, what I want to do is make sure that the middle 2 holes of my line follower sensor are lined up with the middle 2 holes of my chassis. So I'm going to place it on just so, and then on top of that I'm going to want to place my mini wheel. Now this mini wheel needs to be facing away from me again, so the 2 holes are on the underside of the wheel with the wheel just facing up, and I'm going to place that gently on top of those 2 holes, and I'm going to take 2 of those stubby screws that we saw earlier, and they are going to screw through the small wheel and the line follower. So I'm going to screw those through now. Okay, so that's been connected now. We can see that the line follower and the mini wheel have been placed on the chassis like so. What I'm going to do now is flip the vehicle over so that we've got the smiley face at the front, and I'm going to connect my rangefinder. Okay. My ultrasonic sensor. Now the way that's going to be screwed through, using the same screws that I used for the line follower, so those those stubby screws, and it's worth noting actually, I forgot to say earlier, we'll be using the opposite end of our screwdriver for this. We'll be using the hexagonal side of the screwdriver. To get that, you just pull out and flip over, right? I'm sure you noticed when you built the screwdriver, we've got both a Phillips and a hexagonal end to our screwdriver. So I flipped it over. I'm now going to get 2 of those little screws and connect my ultrasonic rangefinder like so, and that's connected. So I've got my ultrasonic sensor on the top of my vehicle. I've got the 2 motors attached, small wheel and the line follower. So it's really starting to look like an mBot now. One thing I haven't done yet is to connect my 2 cables. I've got 2 J25 cables, one of which needs to be connected to my ultrasonic sensor just in the back here, and also another one in that exposed port that we placed for our line follower. So I'll place that cable down here like so. Okay, and that's what we've got so far. Next, what I want to do is take my 4 brass studs and screw those into each of the corners for my mBot robot. And what this is going to do is to produce an elevated section for my microcontroller to sit on top of. So let's get these brass studs in. And then next, what I want to do is reach for my battery holder and a Velcro sticker pack. What I'm going to do with this is attach 1/2 of my Velcro sticker to the mBot and another half to my battery holder. That's then going to allow me to fix my battery holder so that the batteries are going in horizontal. What you'll find is if you try to do it so that they're going vertical, it doesn't quite fit between the brass studs. I'm going to do it so that the lead's on the top left. I'm fairly sure that's the best way for it. We might find problems later, but I'm just going to press on and attach it so that the lead is at the top left here. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And that's the battery holder connected now, so that should be take offable and then put back onable. Just watch that RG cable doesn't get in the way, and that's the battery holder fixed. Alright. Okay guys, we're continuing this video a little bit later. I had to get hold of some batteries. Batteries are not included in the mBot box. And in the process actually of looking for batteries, I figured out what this mystery box that came in the set was. It's actually a holder for a lithium-ion battery that does not come with the set. So I don't know if this is just a standard case for any lithium, any 3.7 volt lithium battery that you might buy, or if that is one that you can buy through MakeBlock. Okay, so I've got some batteries. Another thing that I've done is threaded my cables through so that they're on the right side of the mBot. And I'll just talk you through that now, because the last thing that we need to add is our brain, our microcontroller for the robot, and that's going to sit on top of the 4 brass studs that we've put on the top of the robot. I'll put that to the side for now and just tell you how these cables should be coming through. The battery cable, there's not a lot that you need to do with that. You can just leave that hanging towards the back. Now the guide is quite clear in showing you that the rangefinder cable should be connected to the left hand side, so looking face on at the robot, the left hand side of the robot, and the line follower cable should be on the right hand side. So I've put those to the left and right sides appropriately. What the guide isn't good at showing you is that you're probably going to want to thread your 2 motor cables that come from the yellow motors on the underside here through the same gap in the chassis that the line follower is using. I did try using these sort of strips that are cut out either side. You see these strips that are running down here, but the connectors for the motors are actually too large to pass the lead through there. So you're going to want to use this main gap at the top here. Once you've got your motors through, again looking at your robot face on, the motor ports are going to be on the right hand side of that board. So all I need to do now is to connect my microcontroller to the top of my robot, so I'll do that now. And once that's connected nicely to the top of your robot, you're going to want to plug in your rangefinder, so your distance sensor that was on the left hand side, into port 3. So I'm going to plug that into port 3. You're going to want your line follower plugged into port 2, and with your motors you need to be quite careful now and make sure that if we put our robot face down or top down this way, if we turn it upside down, then this motor on the left hand side needs to be going to M1, to the M1 port. So I want to make sure that this lead, which corresponds to this lead, plugs into my M1 connector. Okay, so that plugs into M1, and then the second motor, which would be the right hand side, plugs into M2. When plugging these in, do try to make sure that the black wire is on the left hand side. Okay, so the black wire is on the left hand side, the white wire is on the right hand side, and that those are in nice and snugly. Finally, we plug in our battery, and that's about it, folks. Now I definitely do want to spend a bit of time on cable management. I won't bore you with sort of waiting as I try to make these cables a lot more sort of neat and tidy. The next video we'll do some coding. So thanks for watching, and let's do some coding in the next video. Cheers.